Welcome to Hey Dad Podcast. Real dads, tough issues, and a genuine love for a fatherless generation.
Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining us today. This is the Hey Dad Podcast. I'm Rick Rivera, and once again, thank you for joining us. I'm here with Chris Lawler.
Howdy.
And our partner in crime, Frank, is still out. He'll be back soon. So today we're going to be starting off with watching a video from Jordan Peterson and his comments on manhood. It's very interesting. It's very profound. So we'd like to watch it and then share our thoughts on it.
We've met some of your fans, and we got the impression they were all male fans, the ones that we talked to, and that they were struggling with their manhood, and that you give them this message that it's okay to be a man.
It's not okay. It's necessary. What the hell are we going to do without men? You look around the city here, you see all these buildings go up, these men, they're doing impossible things. They're under the streets, working on the sewers, they're up on the power lines in the storms and the rain. They're keeping this impossible infrastructure functioning, this thing that works in a miraculous manner. They work themselves to death, and often literally, and the gratitude for that is sorely lacking, especially among the people who should be most grateful. You see university professors, especially of the social justice bent, who are among the most protected and privileged people that the world has ever produced. They take everything they have for granted, failing to understand entirely that there's a massive infrastructure of unbelievably hardworking, solidly laboring, working class men breaking themselves in half on a regular basis, making sure that everything that always breaks works. And so a little gratitude for that is in order. And it's very useful to tell everyone, not just men, that they have an important role to play, a necessary role, and that if they act properly and honestly and forthrightly, that they can put their lives together and they can help their families and they can make their communities better, and that's not toxic masculinity, that appalling phrase. It's what keeps the world going round. If we had any sense, we'd understand that, instead of doing everything at every possible moment to label what we have in the West as oppressive and patriarchal and fundamentally predicated on power, of all the insane propositions. Anybody who's ever worked for a functional organization knows perfectly well that the organization isn't predicated on power. You have a boss whose fundamental motivation is power. Well, first of all, the probability that he's going to be successful is very low, because everyone will be working against him behind the scenes. The people who are successful are good mentors, and they're hard workers, and they're productive, and they're competent, and they do their job properly, and they do everything they can. My observation has been that they do everything they can to find junior colleagues who have potential and possibility and work diligently to further their careers, and find that a major, if not the major, source of satisfaction in their life. Certainly the people I've met in my life who've been very successful, and I've met many very successful people, are thrilled to death when they can find someone who's young and willing and able and conscientious and straightforward and diligent, and they open doors for them in every direction they can possibly manage. And none of that's credited to the oppressive capitalist patriarchal system, which also is doing miracles, is performing miraculously all around the world, raising the standard of living of poor people everywhere in the world at a rate that's unprecedented in human history.
Wow. That I enjoy listening to him speak often. He's a professor in a college in Canada, and he's received so much backlash from having talks like this and others, where they find it unpopular and they think he's influencing the young men of today's generation in the wrong way.
Yeah. Can I get a copy of that to show my wife?
Yes.
Along with a note saying, please let this man do whatever he wants because listen to Jordan Peterson and appreciate him more.
A prescription so you can...
I think that'll go over really great.
Yeah. But that was so powerful.
Yeah.
Manhood is a hard road to plow. It really is. Now, don't get me wrong. You could check out and manhood becomes a lot easier. But to live your life with the qualities of a real man, it's hard. And we shouldn't undervalue our impact on today's society. We really are important to today's society. Without our presence, our young kids go crazy. You know, they act out, they do violent things. Our presence is important to our sons, to our daughters, to our wives, and to society. And I'm not saying we're the only ingredient, but we definitely have our part, you know, as
right.
Jordan Peterson was saying.
This is a puzzle for a lot of young guys who don't have fathers.
Right.
Or who are disconnected from their fathers and they don't have that kind of mentorship like Jordan Peterson is talking about. You know, when you enter into martial arts, you enter into a world that's defined by the belt system. White belt, yellow belt, red belt, black belt, different degrees of black belt. And all of these skills that began on a very, very simple platform. You can track them.
Yeah.
And there's testing along the way where when you win a certain level and you become a white belt, that means that you're that much further along the pathway of your development.
Yeah.
And it's something you can be assured of to the point where you get to the point where you're a black belt, then you're in a system that is defining for you what that black belt means. You put that belt on, everybody that's part of that system understands what that is, and most importantly, the wearer of that black belt understands what's expected of them and what they've accomplished in their skills. No such system like this exists when you're trying to grasp what manhood is. It's completely undefined.
Right. That's the calling of this show. The show is, and not to come up here like we have it all figured out and we're perfect. Absolutely not. But we're men who love God. We're men, and we don't apologize for that. And we're comfortable with being a man. So it leads to the question, Chris, have you ever been challenged? Like male traits sometimes will throw women off. Mm-hmm. Okay. Let me give you a story just to lead into this. I have a weed whacker, and it's as old as I do my own lawn. I insist on it. I love doing my own lawn. So I'm doing my own lawn, and weed whacker's not behaving. And it's just getting me, and it's hot. One of those days. And sure enough, it jams up, and I take the thing, and I slammed it on the ground in anger. Not my best moment, no. And as I slam it, part of the shroud flies in the air, you know, and my wife's, Ricky, what are you doing? What are you, like, she freaked out. I said, I just turned to her, and I wasn't like, I turned to her shocked. I said, woman, I go, I'm a man, we get mad, you know, like, it's allowed. I go, it's that same anger that allows me to kill the bugs you want me to kill in the house, or when there's a bump in the night, I'm the one out there looking with the flashlight. That's same aggression. It's in me, and it's not dangerous, and it's not bad. And but sometimes traits of manhood scare people, make people uncomfortable. You know, there's a bit of a burden that comes with it. But I'm a firm believer that we have to defend those traits in ourselves.
Well, the people that makes them the most uncomfortable are those that don't want to live their life defined by manhood.
Yeah.
The ones that I'm afraid I can't measure up, or I so thoroughly throw off that definition that now I'm bisexual, I'm ambidextrous, yeah, whatever the term is. I don't even know what the terms are.
Fluid. There's a million terms.
Gender fluid.
Yeah.
And it's because I don't want anybody to tell me that I'm doing it wrong. So therefore, I'm going to eliminate the target altogether.
Right.
So whatever I am is what I'm supposed to be.
Right.
And therefore, I never have to answer to anybody's expectations for what I should be. Now, when that person, if that's the way all human beings were, I don't know what kind of a society we would have, because as Jordan Peterson pointed out so succinctly, many of the dirtiest jobs are suited to our side of the sex.
Exactly.
Okay, there are things that women are just never going to do.
Right.
But on the other hand, there's so many things that women do that men are never going to do.
Right.
You know, sometimes the thought occurs to me, what happens on D-Day when all those boats arrive on the shores of Normandy and the ramps come down and they're all women, women up on the beach, women coming out of the boats. They probably don't really get the whole war thing done the way that we would expect.
But in fairness, they might have avoided the whole war altogether too.
Yeah, right. They might have just sat down and talked about it.
They would have worked through it for the greater good.
Right. So I mean, you know, the responsibility and the ability to go off the rails exists on both sides of the spectrum.
Yeah, yeah. But you know, it's funny. There's a part of men that we have to be aggressive. There's moments to be aggressive, you know. My daughter, if there's a boy coming around to date her or she has a boyfriend, yeah, there better be a little bit of fear in me, of me. And I'm not a violent guy. I'm not, you know, I love people and I care about people. I'm not, but it's in there.
Right.
It's in there. And you want to press the combination to let it out, do something to my daughter, do something inappropriate.
I mean, even take it down to even more primal level. Your home. I've been to your house. It's a great house. But everybody that goes to your house knows there's a man that lives in there. So I can't just open the door, walk in, go to the fridge, pull out whatever I want, sit down, watch TV. I mean, just have freedom with everything. I'm in another man's kingdom.
Yeah.
We used to understand this so well. If you roll back history even 300 years, when every government on earth was a kingdom, and at the heart of those governments was usually a man, almost always a man, occasionally a queen here and there, but almost always it was a man. And you realize that if I come into that kingdom, however vast it might be, and I start acting in ways that are not, they're against the laws of that kingdom, that man's will is going to be expressed through his army and through his forces on my butt.
See, and I think as Jordan Peterson expresses too, I think that's being challenged.
Yeah.
And you know, it's funny though, Chris, I think there's one thing we have to be watchful for. So many people would use what we're saying as an excuse to be very aggressive and very mean and brutal at times. And that's this is not an excuse for that at all. But let me say this. Okay, I got a story. My wife wakes me up in the middle of the night, and she rarely does this. So to me, getting woken up by my wife in the middle of the night, it's like something serious is going on.
Right.
And she says, you know, honey, I hear something outside. Go check. I got up. I went and checked. And this was take the flashlight. I went around the entire property, my house, and you know, through the backyard. And I come back to bed, and she's dead asleep. And so the next day, I'm laughing at her. I'm telling her, I could have been dead on the side of the house in a pool of blood, and you'd be in here asleep. But she said something interesting. She goes, well, I knew everything was going to be all right. Like, she didn't worry about it.
Yeah.
If you told me, or I let my wife go check, I would have been man card pull time. Chris, seriously? Come on, dude. You know, I mean, you know, you need these times you need to man up like that. And you need to be the man of your house. That's what I'm talking about. That, you know what I mean? But let me ask you a question. when do you ever feel society challenges that? Like I was thinking in media, TV, and movies. It seems to me they try to make everything ambiguous. Like a 105-pound woman will be the heroine of the movie, and she's beautiful, model beautiful, and also she could flip a 300-pound man upside down. And they try to make it seem like we're all the same and we can all play whatever role. Right. Yeah. And I'm not against a woman being the star of the movie or being the hero. I think it's great. I wish they would make her like a tough, kind of butchy-looking woman. Yeah. Then you're kind of like, okay, because there's a lot of real tough women out there.
Right.
But when you make it, she could be a model, or she could be, a trained killer. Like, come on, like. But to me, it belittles men. Like you're interchangeable. You can be changed out easily. Not a big deal. So like the Lord of the Rings, I'm watching that series, and the women are picking up these swords and killing these huge 300-400-pound beasts, and I'm thinking to myself, well, why aren't the men leading that? Why are there men hiding in the safe house and the women in the village are fighting too? I'm saying what I'm saying is the man's role is protector. The man's role is to oversee, watch. The man's role is sacrificial, just like Jordan Peterson was saying in the video. It's true. We sacrifice our lives working, and a lot of us work very hard, and so. But
what I'm hearing as you're saying that, Rick, though, so I'm hearing women saying, yeah, but I work hard too.
True.
And yeah, I used to have a guy and he took off and he's gone. He left me to do it all. So I have to do all the job of a mother and a dad.
Yeah.
And I personally know a woman who is raising 6 orphan boys, all different ages, all by herself, no man on the scene.
Right.
And in many ways, she's a tougher man than most of the men I know.
True. And sad statement.
Yeah.
True.
But she's been forced to that role.
She plays it, yeah.
And I don't think she begrudges it. She embraces it.
Right.
Wisely, because she's making a difference for these young boys. And
God bless her for it.
Yeah.
But it's a sad society is when women have to step up to play that role. See, I just always think this. Sometimes you see young girls at a bus stop late at night, and I'm thinking, where's men in your life to protect you? I mean, my daughter would never be in that situation, and I'm no Superman.
Mine would, because she can't find a guy that's reliable.
Yeah, see, that bums me out.
Oh yeah,
men need to take the responsibility for who we are.
She lived, grew up in my house. I live in Whittier. And when she got old enough to move out on her own, she moved down to Long Beach, and she lived in Long Beach. Now, Long Beach, culturally speaking, is a real hotbed for this kind of fluid sexuality situation. She could not find a man among all the males in Long Beach.
Right.
They all were... when you meet one, I won't say all because that's being stereotypical and it's too easy to say that.
Yeah.
But the ones that she encountered showed a version of manhood that was just greedy, wanted what it wanted, was willing to do whatever it took in order to get what satisfied their need and their desire without expressing a strong instinct that I'm going to sweep you under my wing and bring my protection over you. Now, she moved to Nashville. And you move to Nashville, you move out into the middle of the country where the culture is very different than it is on the east and the west coast of the United States. In the middle of the country, most of the young men have a different way of looking at things. They hunger for that job. They want to find that woman that they can take care of and take on that burden.
Right.
They desire that because they're brought up to expect that this is what I'm probably going to be best at in my default sex.
Right.
And I want that job.
Yeah.
I want it. And totally different kind of guys.
That's true. Our perspective on a lot of these issues is very Southern California, West Coast. That's where we're from. That's where we've raised our families. And that's what we know. I talk to my daughter's friends. They're all young, early 20s and younger. And the one thing, it's real common if they go out on a date that they both pay. See, my wife, when I courted my wife, she never opened a door for herself. She never paid for her meal. And mind you, I was doing my externship at the time, so I'm broke. I mean, I'm broke. What do? I buy a big old 64 ouncer and we drive in the car. But that's all I could afford. But I never once put the burden on her, asking her for gas. If we did go out, I took care of her. I mean, that is not common today. And maybe you're right. Maybe it's still alive in the Midwest and other parts of the country where they value that, but it's being lost here. Mm-hmm. And the encouragement I want to do is tell young guys, even guys a little older is fine. Buck what society's trying to fit you into. You know, don't be so passive about it. Buck it. Take ownership of protecting. If you're with a woman, protect her. You know, can she take care of herself? Yeah. Can she open her own door? Yeah, probably better than you can. But it's respect and it's caring for her.
It's about responsibility.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that God has given us a gift. We call it, to use church language, a mantle, which means a responsibility has been put upon men to be the gardeners.
Right.
That was our first job. When Adam was created in the Garden of Eden, the first responsibility was to care for all the life that was in the Garden of Eden. See that it flourishes. Find out what it needs.
Right.
Care for it. And this is the kind of responsibility from the earliest man that has descended through our gene pool to every man that's ever lived, is you have an innate desire to care for and make flourish that comes within your realm of influence, including a woman.
Right.
That doesn't mean that, literally, it doesn't mean that you're going to be paying for everything. Mm-hmm. That's too easy, in my mind, a way of diluting that very deep and profound and holy mantle to simply mean you're going to be the one that's always picking up the check. Because sometimes a woman doesn't want to feel vulnerable that way. They don't want to feel completely overwhelmed, or they're afraid what you paying for the money is going to mean.
Yeah, there's dynamics to that.
Yeah, then now what do I owe you,
But it's more stepping up to the responsibility of if I'm with a woman, I'm going to take care of her. Yeah. I'm going to guard her, I'm going to protect her. If she needs something, I'm going to take care of it. And of course, there's limitations to that, and there's different scenarios for that. Mm-hmm. But overall, I think men have to take that role as protector. Mm-hmm. And I think we let it go. Like, I see videos sometimes where two girls are fighting, and you have all these, excuse my language, but idiots, dudes on the side recording it with cameras.
Yeah.
Chanting it for it to go on. And man, if I saw that, I would have called those guys out right away. One would break up the fight. I will not sit there and watch two women hurt each other. And okay, guys, I'm from LA. I understand there's dynamics to what I'm saying, and sometimes these things can be very violent and very dangerous for anyone to step into. So everything's done with caution and wisdom. But to sit there and just watch two women fight and cheer it on, that to me it feels like we're in a generation of boys pretending to be men. Mm-hmm. And my heart goes out to these young women. These young women, truthfully, a woman wants a man who does life well. Yeah. A woman wants a man who leads. That's really what they look for and what they want. They want to know, if I have children from this man, he will take care of them. He'll be there when it gets tough. And that's what they're looking for.
Even if they can't say that.
Yeah, exactly.
It will resonate like a tuning fork inside them.
Right.
When I was early on in my marriage, we took a trip to Europe, and just my wife Susan and I, and we decided to take a train. The trains are all over Europe; they're way ahead of us in that respect. We took a train from Paris to the seaside. We're going to cross over and go to England. Mm-hmm. While we're on the train, Susan had bought a box of pastries, French pastries, which were incredible, amazing. And we were bringing it back to these hosts that were hosting us in England. Mm. So the train was very crowded. So she is sitting on a chair and I'm standing holding one of the loops, just a little bit of ways off. And I hear this racket coming down the train. you know, and it was some guy whacking on a guitar thinking he was playing some U2 or whatever, and thinking he was great, and another guy rattling a can of change in front of everybody's face, kind of shaking down the whole train. Very intimidating, kind of like giving nobody an option. You know, here, them guys playing music, you got to pay, you know. Well, they came down, I'm kind of watching it, and this is like a first time, you know, first time that this has ever actually been presented to me. They came to my wife, Susan, and played and rattled the can, and one of the guys says, what's in that box? You know, he knew what was in the box. And they didn't associate me being connected to her because I was standing up a little bit ways off. Okay. What's in that box? And I'm watching this, and my brain is trying to catch up to what the scenario that was developing, but it hadn't quite caught up yet. So I was still in observation mode. And Susan says, yeah, it's a pastry. And says, let me have one of those. Give me one of those. You know, kind of open the pastry. Finally, it caught up. It caught up what was happening is my wife is being assaulted by this guy. You know, not a violent assault, but an intimidation.
Right.
And even though I was unpracticed and I never had experience doing this before, oh my God, the adrenaline shot up from my heels right through the ends of my hair and my head. And I got in that guy's face, and I couldn't say anything. It all came out as blibbering, like, "Who's doing that? You can give me that cereal." But I came at him with such force that the guy completely backed off.
Right.
He backed off, almost stumbling and falling over his guitar whacking buddy.
Right.
And I just came on him with such strength
that
whatever you're going to do, it's going to happen now. You know, you're going to pay a price to me if you continue with this with my wife. And they stumbled and they said a few things and they quickly left. They went down the other car. The whole rest of the car erupted in clapping.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Okay, now, this is not a brag moment on me. I'm not telling you that for that purpose. So if you want to, you know, applaud now, that would be appropriate. But in the midst of that, I realized that they had traveled all the way down that car, and there were many men along the car.
Yeah.
Many men and women that were together, and nobody did anything.
Right.
Until it came to me. Now, I'm not blaming them because for a couple of minutes, I was kind of like stunned and paralyzed.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out what was going on.
They shock you, and it takes you a while to process and register. Wait a minute,
But when it's like the animal finally clicked in and the bolt got put back in place, I was ready to go.
Right.
And it's like, okay, that may happen in Europe. This might be the custom in Europe, and everybody's used to it, and they're going to do it. I'm not European.
Right.
I'm an American. I'm not even an American. I'm just a guy with my brand new wife, and you're trying to get that pastry that has my name on it.
Right.
That ain't going to go down.
Exactly.
And I just got in this guy's face, and we had this little moment, and I've thought about that ever since because it was the thing that came up and out of me was wild.
Yeah.
It was like something, I don't know if I could have controlled it. If it would have escalated to some kind of a fight, I would have been fighting to kill.
Yeah.
You know, not to just push them off.
Right.
Maybe a more polished fighter, somebody who deals in this kind of thing all the time, they would know the limit. They would know the portion to mete out to meet the situation. I didn't. It was all on. I was all in.
Protection. You slipped into protection.
Yeah, but all it took was for me to be in that place where that was my attitude, and that attitude broadcasted something that knocked him off his feet.
Right. Exactly.
And that was me, I think, tasting what being a man should be.
Question, Chris, do you like fighting?
No.
Do you feel paralyzed with fear when that kind of situation comes up?
I was afraid I'm going to hit somebody and cave their face, and then I'm going to be responsible for it, you know?
It's not like we're saying, oh yeah, let's be macho and let's do it. No. We're not that way. We're not this kind of guys. We'll talk things out way before we let anything get bad. We're the type of guys that probably go in and break people up from fighting rather than jump into a fight.
There's a term for this phenomena that sometimes a man has to show the sword. Doesn't mean use the sword. It doesn't mean take it out and whack somebody's head off. It means pull it out of the sheath and show it.
Right.
It's like, we're going to play this game. I want you to know that I'm equipped.
Right.
You know, that doesn't mean I'm a fighter and I've got my black belt I can show and all that kind of stuff. We're not going to drop into kung fu fighting here all through the train.
Right.
It isn't like that. It's just that this is something I'm responsible for. This one girl, I'm not responsible for all the other women on this train, but this one has given her life to me.
Yeah. And see, and it's funny. I feel that part of men is we're being attacked for being men. We're being attacked for being masculine. We're being attacked for even at times being aggressive. Aggressiveness is not a negative thing. It can be. But to be an aggressive man is a positive thing if you're aligned right. If you care about society. If it's
appropriate and it's called for.
Right. If you care about people, if you care about your city, if you care about the people under your roof, it's a very positive thing. It's important.
You know, it's not always about aggressiveness, and that's the easy part to talk about in manhood. But it's also has to do with stepping up and saying, I'm the one.
Right.
I will stand in the gap. When we had the earthquake back in Whittier in 1987.
87, right?
I had an all brick house, bricks all the way around the house. A beautiful old home built in 1920s. The lash from the earthquake shook all the brick loose, and it all came down. And so I was left with a house that was framed, just, the framing, and piles of bricks everywhere. And I looked at that, and it was so crushing. It was so overwhelming. But I also looked at my family and my little kids, and I says, it's on me.
Yeah.
It's on me. I either have to figure out how to pay for it. I got to figure out how to get people to help me. But no, whatever happens, it's on me. It's not on my wife to fix this.
Right.
It's not on somebody else. I'm a man. I need to step up. And you know what? God met me there. Mm-hmm. He met me there with the financing. He met me there with guys that would pull the brick away from the house and clean it all up and get it ready. I mean, it was a complex problem to solve, but at the very beginning, it needed a man to step up and says, I'm going to be responsible to see this all the way through.
Right. Right. It's not just also, like you're saying, in other situations, my wife is very uncomfortable in conflict. She just is. She likes to avoid it, and she just doesn't like it. Mm-hmm. And we've had family situations where we've had to talk to people, or we've even had to talk to family members over issues, and that's when it's time to take the bullet. Like, it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable for me too. I don't like it. Yeah, we're watching the time. We're trying to be respectful of the time of the show. But you got to do it. And I step up. But it's really about understanding, okay, I'm a man, and I embrace that. I don't run from it. Does it make me a little more aggressive sometimes? Yeah. But I care about people. I'm not going to hurt anyone with that aggression.
Sure.
I'm going to use it in the appropriate time, like on the train, when it comes out and it's needed,
Right.
But so let's close with this.
Before you close.
Yeah.
Boil that down to this guy that we're talking about. We're talking to some guy who's 16 years old.
Yeah.
Doesn't have a dad. And you're not going to be facing the kind of complex and challenging issues, I don't think. I hope not. Until maybe way later in your life. What you do now to plant the seeds for the kind of manhood that will grow into that type of a person is to take responsibility.
Yeah.
That means take responsibility with whatever comes before you that's within your hand's reach. Mm-hmm. Responsibility to make thrive. That means responsibility to fix what's broken, to improve what needs improvement, to push through and get a job done that needs to get done that relieves somebody else of the burden.
Right.
Practice being that guy. Being that guy that when I move into a situation, no matter what it is, no matter how chaotic it is, whatever needs to be done, I'll step up.
Right.
Me.
Right.
Not somebody else. I'm not going to look for the escape door. I'm not going to find a way to worm out.
Passively sit back quiet, let somebody else step into that.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
I'll do it.
Exactly.
I'll do it. I'll jump forward. And you know what'll happen? The sweetest thing in the world is you step forward, I'll do it, and then another guy will see what you're doing. Yeah, I'll do it with you.
Exactly.
And I'll do it with you. And before you know it, you got a band of brothers.
It sets the standard, right?
A band of brothers that will watch each other and help each other thrive.
Yeah.
And grow that manhood into full force.
Right.
Full dangerous force.
Right. Yeah. Just for an applicable situation for a young man, if you're walking with a girl from school, or if you guys go to a dance or something, you're walking home and your roads split. No, you walk her all the way to her door and make sure she gets home safely.
That's right.
Don't
You
let her
don't
walk
drive
around.
off until she disappears through her front
Until
door.
she gets in that front door. Exactly. Those little things. She's out with me. She's under my care. I'm going to make sure she gets to her door safely. And you could break it down into a lot of little things, daily acts if you think about it. But I guess the first part is saying, I'm a man. That's the first thing I think you have to tell yourself. I'm a man. That's my identity. And then you live through that filter. What is a man? The problem is, like, some people without fathers don't quite understand it, or they got the big things, the little things aren't as clear, and that's what this show's for, and that's what mentoring with older men's about, with men. But the important thing is to find a good man, because there's a lot of bad examples out there. You want to be around a man who does life well.
Here's a thought of hope. Is when you start doing this, it's going to be hard. It's more difficult to take responsibility than it is to escape it. And that's just plain and easy and obvious. It should be obvious. But what happens is when you practice taking responsibility for the things in your life, it is difficult, but it builds strength.
Yeah.
And you keep on doing it. You keep on doing it. The tasks never get easier, but you get stronger.
Exactly.
And because you get stronger, they feel easier. And a young man that chooses this path to accept the struggle early on will eventually grow to such strength that they'll be in a groove the rest of their life. The young man that decides, I'm going to escape responsibility, I'm going to find a way to take it easy and escape it and worm out of it, they do that early on, trouble is going to follow them all through their life.
Yeah.
They're going to have to be worming out and escaping and running their entire life.
Yeah.
And the task will never get easier.
Exactly.
Because you'll have no strength.
So embrace your manhood.
Yeah.
Take pride in being a man. It's a noble priesthood. And I'm proud to be a man. I'm proud to be a man in society. And I wouldn't let anyone challenge me on that without apology. And because I think like that, and many other men think that way, society's better for it.
Yes.
Our families are better for it. So embrace it, guys. Step into it. Any closing thoughts, Chris?
Join the brotherhood.
Join the brotherhood, guys. Join the brotherhood. Yeah, exactly.
I had a dream one time of boys playing with wooden stick swords, little swords they made out of sticks. And they're whacking the trees and pretending to be warriors and fighting each other in contrived battles. And they're playing in front of a gigantic fortress. And then one day, the fortress door opened very slowly, and all the little boys stopped playing for a moment to watch, and real warriors came out. I mean, real battle-hardened warriors with real swords. Swords that just slice you through like you're nothing but butter.
Right.
Real warriors, and they come out and they say, who's willing to take the ride?
All right.
Who's willing to come under our wing and learn what this is? And you know what? Some boys stepped up and dropped their wooden swords, and they went with those warriors through that gate. But many boys did not.
Right.
Then the door closed. The door to accept this priesthood of manhood opens up once in a while. This is a moment right now. If you're listening to this podcast, this is a moment where that door is opening up. Look, I'm not some great warrior, neither is Rick. We're not those guys, but in our spirit, we're fearsome, and we're awesome, man.
Well, I'll say this: we're battle tested, and we're
That's
proven.
right.
We've raised families.
And we care about you.
And we care so much about you
We care
guys.
about you.
Yeah. So
there's my final thought.
Right on. So let's close in prayer.
Yeah.
Guys, Chris, you want to close us out?
Father, we come to you for this solution, Father, because you know what you had in mind when you sent each one of us into this world. You had a dream before we were ever formed in our mother's womb, and you sent us into this world knowing what we could be. We're born into this world kind of ignorant of it, and we're trying to find our way. I pray, Father, that you will put a lamp unto each boy/man's feet and show them the path that they should walk, and lead them into the full, fearsome glory that you had in mind from the very beginning, so that the world is better for it, so that whoever falls under their care thrives.
Yes.
In the name of Jesus, we ask you
Jesus,
that.
we pray.
Amen.
Amen. Great. Thank you, Chris. Thank you guys for joining us, and we'll see you in the next show. Oh, I'm supposed to say this. Like and subscribe. Thank you very much, guys. Take care.
All right.